Solving multi-step equations, Lesson 8, Worksheet number 2. I'm going to do several of the problems with you. The rest of them you will be on your own. Let's start with question number 3. This is a multi-step equation, and the first step is to do the distributive property. So I'm going to distribute -1 to both of the terms inside the parentheses. And then I'm going to distribute -3 to both terms inside the parentheses. Now, this 3b right here, we just bring it down. So this is going to be 3b. And then when you multiply by -1, when you distribute -1, all it does is change the signs of the numbers inside the parentheses. So -1 times 3b would mean I take the opposite, which would make that -3b. -1 times 15 would be -15. The opposite of positive 15 would be -15. -3 times b would be -3b. And -3 times, and be careful, that's a -2. So 2 negatives would become +6. Second step is to combine your like terms. That's the only thing I can combine because everything else does not have a like term. Remember, we have to keep our sides separate, so on the right side there's nothing to combine. And if you notice, we've got -3b and +3b, so these terms here are opposites and would just cancel out. That means I just bring everything else down. So I'm going to bring down the -15, bring down the -3b, and bring down the +6. Now, this is the step where we would get our variable terms to one side and our constant terms to the other side. But if you'll notice, there is only one variable term, and it is on the right side. So if there's only one variable term and it is on the right, that means we're going to take our constant term to the left. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. That allows me to cancel out the 6's here. -15 minus 6 would be -21. So -21 equals -3b. And now the last step is to isolate the variable using the inverse operation, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by -3. Cancel my -3's. -21 divided by -3 is +7. So 7 equals b. All right. Take a moment and make sure you have everything written down. All right. Let's go on to number 7. Number 7, I'm going to start by doing the distributive property. So I'm going to take 2 times m to get 2m, 2 times -4 to get -8. Now I'm going to distribute -1. -1 times m would be -1m. -1 times +7 would be -7. -3 times m would be -3m. -3 times 6, -18. Now I'm going to take a moment just to check my signs. Positive times a positive is positive. Positive times a negative is negative. Negative times a positive 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 is negative. So we're good, because remember, it's very important that you get your signs correct. One wrong sign will completely mess the problem up. Let's look at the other side. All right, now I'm going to distribute 10. So 10 times m would give me 10m. And 10 times -4 would be -40. Now I'm going to distribute -1. -1 times +2m would be -2m. And -1 times 3 would be -3. Remember, when you distribute -1, it's just changing the signs of whatever's inside the parentheses. So again, when I distribute this -1, the +4m would become -4m. And the +2 would become -2. All right. Now that we've did the distributive property, now it's time to combine like terms. On the left side, I have 2m, -1m, and -3m. I also have -8, -7, and -18. On the right side, I have 10m, -2m, and -4m. I also have -40, -3, and -2. All right, time to combine like terms. 2 minus 1 minus 3. 2 minus 1 minus 3 would give me -2. So I have -2m. -8 minus 7 minus 18. All those signs are the same, so you'd add them all up and keep the sign. That would be -33. Keep the equal signs lined up. On the other side, 10 minus 2 minus 4. So that would be 4m. -40, -3, -2. They all have the same sign, so add them all up and keep the sign. That'd be -45. In your calculator, you do -40 minus 3 minus 2. All right, next step. Variable terms to one side, constant terms to the other side. I like my variable on the left, so I'm going to take my -4 to the left. So, or sorry, my +4 to the left by making it -4. So I'm subtracting 4m from both sides. Then I'm going to take my constant term to the right. It's negative, so I'm going to make it positive, 33. So the 4m's will cancel, the 33's will cancel. -2 minus 4, signs are the same, so I'm going to add and keep the sign. So -6m. -45 plus 33, the signs are different, so I'm going to subtract, keep the sign of the larger number, -12. Last step is to isolate this variable using the inverse operation. It's multiplication, so the inverse would be to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by -6. They would cancel. So m equals -12 divided by -6. Two negatives become +2. So m equals 2. Pause your video, make sure you have all of that work written down. If you have any questions on problems 3 or 7, please let me know. For the rest of the problems for questions 1 through 8, you need to check out the daily virtual assignment for possible posted answers.